So Port Vale Football Club from the city of Stoke in the heart of the Midlands get this FA Cup quarter-final tie at Stamford Bridge underway in their traditional black and white kit. We heard their head coach John Brady talking just ahead of kick-off, saying their plan is to come here, try to soak it up and maybe even throw a few punches themselves. They're going to be on the back foot here, with Pedro Neto coming forward. Estevao into the box as well. Quick feet from Palmer. Here comes Malo Gusto, fresh from international duty with France. It's off Cameron Humphreys behind for the first corner of the afternoon.
Yeah, a bright start, and already the captain showing his influence and dominance in that position. Cole Palmer, you get the ball into him, wonderfully balanced player with a ball at his feet, already contributed to this Chelsea team.
Right into the danger area. The keeper was all over the shot. And that one's fired in for Chelsea in the opening moments of the match by Jorel Hato. Well, Joe Gauci on loan from Aston Villa got himself at 6s and 7s. And the Dutchman Hato fires Chelsea into an early lead in the opening minutes here.
Well, 64 seconds into this game, ball whipped into that near post area. The keeper just doesn't get enough of a contact on the punch. We'll see it in that near post area. A lot of bodies there. The second he pops it out into the danger area, and there is Hato with his trusty left foot just to sweep this into the back of the net. Totally unmarked. It's a hip-high volley, but he drives it back through the ruck of players. Chelsea, perfect start.
Well, he's back playing as full-back, Jorel Hato, after being employed in the heart of defence up at the Hill Dickinson Stadium in the Premier League last time out. He's got his first goal here at Stamford Bridge. Port Vale seek a response, but that was a comparatively tame effort that rolls wide.
Yeah, it's Gordon with the attempt, but it's a situation that Port Vale find themselves in their last 4 FA Cup ties, hadn't conceded a goal. So it's a bigger test than we even expected at this stage of this quarter-final.
Well, so frustrating for John Brady. Not just conceding early, but to concede from a set piece.
Yeah, they've been really so good in this FA Cup run, denying the opposition opportunities. But for Liam Rosenior, he's sitting just a little bit more comfortably on in that dugout with a quite perfect start.
Here comes Neto again, asking questions of Gordon, sliding it into Palmer.
Oh, Bill, that's a chance. Really good move. Neto to Gusto, cut back. Palmer actually strikes it with his unfavoured right foot, but that is an opportunity for the Chelsea captain.
Well, Pedro couldn't hold it, so Hall clears it for Port Vale. Martin Sheriff tasked with trying to hold the ball up, so it's not relentless one-way traffic. Task that was beyond him on that occasion, the young striker on loan from Everton.
Yeah, and he will be isolated, I feel, on many occasions this afternoon, and that is exactly what he has to try to do.
Estevao felt that Jordan Gabriel left a little bit on him, but the referee content to let things go on. Farai Halam is in charge here. Tosin and Fofana. Gusto.
Well, you can see the pattern of the game already. Chelsea now don't even have to force the issue. They're quite happy building with controlled possession.
I find the exciting team, Estevao. Andre Santos into Palmer, João Pedro. Chelsea knocking it about neatly. Fofana now. Pedro Neto. Gordon certainly got his hands full, hasn't he? as have Port Vale in these opening knockings.
Yeah, certainly Neto started really brightly down that right-hand side. Esteval starting on the left. They can easily switch as well, either side.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice that by Liam Rosenior. Esteval usually, when these two start, does play on the right-hand side with Neto on the left. The manager who started the season in charge of Port Vale, the one who brought them up from League Two last season, Darren Moore, relieved of his duties a few months ago. John Brady's come in. There has been an uplift of sorts. They're still in mortal danger at the bottom of League One. An immediate return to League Two, very much looking on the cards.
Yeah, I think the FA Cup run's been a pleasant distraction from what has been a very difficult season for them in League One.
Yeah, they had some joy in the English League Cup as well, winning away at Birmingham City. They had a home tie against Arsenal back in the autumn where they didn't disgrace themselves at all. How they dearly would have loved that these two balls had come out of the pot in a different order, and that they got the home tie against Chelsea. And a very different feel to things. Chelsea on their home patch, despite recent difficulties, those defeats to Paris Saint-Germain and then also to Newcastle. And looking like the Premier League side in the opening 7 minutes here.
Yeah, there's a real an air of confidence, certainly controlled in their possession, dominating the game. And after the perfect start with that 64-second opening goal, can really relax and enjoy themselves.
Hall, having won it, has gifted it back to Chelsea, but not for long. Now Palmer. Esteval. Palmer leading from the front for Chelsea. The pressure from João Pedro to try and win the ball back was a little excessive, and Farai Hallam has given Port Vale the free kick.
Yeah, well, we can see that combination. Esteval coming off the line, combining with his captain. They look to be on the same wavelength already. Really exciting. Even coming off the left-hand side is Esteval.
Esteval still 18, he's not 19 till later on this month. Cole Palmer, the comparative veteran at the age of 23. And it's one of the regrets, if that's the right word, for Chelsea this season, is that they haven't been able to get those two on the pitch together often enough, because as Clive just said, when they do link up, there's so many exciting signs. It's a relationship that has sparks and chemistry about it.
Well, you've got to say it's a really offensive front four for Chelsea. Neto off the right, Esteval, Pedro's in great form, and Cole Palmer, I think, coming back to his best. He's been frustrated with injuries, not playing too many games, or as many as he certainly would have liked this season.
Well, he got a couple of outings, didn't he, for the English national side? One substitute appearance, one start. In England, slightly lukewarm friendlies that they had at Wembley over the international break just gone.
Yeah, there's going to be some debate, isn't there? And certainly they're saying, is it Palmer, is it Foden? It's going to be an interesting decision for Thomas Tuchel. And a number of others as well, I'm sure.
Santos will be hoping to force his way into the Brazil squad. You mentioned the front three, if you like, for Chelsea. And we've got two probable starters for Brazil in it, in João Pedro and Esteval. Quite a lot for one of the worst defences in League One to try and contend with away at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, one of the biggest tests, I'm sure, that they'll face, not only this season, but for some of them in their careers.
Sixth in the Premier League against the bottom side in League One. 62 places between Chelsea and Port Vale. The third largest gap for the record at this stage of the competition since the start of the century. Brighton against League Two Grimsby back in 2023, which had 76 places between the sides, and Arsenal against Lincoln City, who were then in the National League, 88 places. Sheriff making a nuisance of himself, taking the ball away from Tosin. Oh, nearly came for Wayne.
Well, it's a miss hit across that 6-yard box, and Sheriff did really well initially to hold the ball up, as we were talking about, fed the ball back. The shot comes across, miss hit, but look at Wayne at that back post, just inches away off of Gusto's shoulder. Puff of the cheeks, you can understand why, as close as Port Vale have gone.
Well, they've missed him for their fixtures over the last fortnight or so. He's been away on international duty with New Zealand, a Port Vale player bound for the World Cup. It doesn't happen very often. Palmer, Santos, Gusto floated in, seeking Neto. Connor Hall in second spell now at Vale, came across and got it away from immediate danger.
Yeah, he read it well, because it was a really good move from Neto, coming short to spinning behind. Gusto tried to just exploit the space behind the fullback. Ball came across the cover well. Tempo's just dropped. I think you know, there was a lot of enthusiasm, determination at the start. You see now Port Vale dropping back just to keep the shape, just to try to frustrate Chelsea now for as long as they can. It's all about staying in this FA Cup tie.
Let's not forget, shocks do happen in this competition, even on this ground against League One opposition. Chelsea on their way to being crowned champions in 2015 under Jose Mourinho, when League One Bradford came here. Chelsea went into a 2-0 lead on that occasion, ended up losing 4-2. The biggest shocks that they've seen down the years here at Stamford Bridge. Port Vale can turn this one around. It'll be right up there, maybe even bigger, given the fact that they're right at the bottom of League One, whereas Bradford were doing relatively well. Port Vale playing their first away tie in this season's cup run. Chelsea playing their first here at home.
You can still hear the 6,000 travelling Port Vale fans, which is great to hear. It is a day out for them. They would certainly have been not expecting to go behind so quickly.
Hato, the goal scorer, to Esteban. Did score on his last start, Esteban. And Will up at Hull City in round 4. Garrity. Jordan Gabriel, caught late. A free kick to the League One side.
Yeah, and it's Esteban that catches him, just as he tries to play that ball down the touchline. Chasing back, the young man, but late with the challenge. Well, if there is a chance, it might well be set pieces for this Port Vale side. Centre-halves are up. Sanchez has been vulnerable in a number of situations this season.
Well, he's got plenty of space, Sanchez, in which to work, initially anyway.
Well, he's in quite an advanced position. He's outside of his 6-yard box there, just probably trying to deny that ball that would be played between the penalty spot and the 18-yard line. Trying to wind that ball, Humphreys, in behind this Chelsea back four.
When it is taken, it'll be Cameron Humphreys to do so. Angled up. Hall was underneath it, and Hall heads wide.
Yeah, it's a decent ball. It is, because it's Chelsea defenders going back onto their own goal. It's drilled rather than curled in there, and Hall is the target. He gets his head to it. Can't get it down on target.
Chelsea have had an ever-rotating cast at the back for one reason or another. Injuries, rotation. They've dealt with a very hectic schedule. It's now thinned out a little bit with their exit from the Champions League at the hands of Paris Saint-Germain. A few more free weeks to come. I hope we need to reschedule the fixture on the semi-final weekend. Offside flag up against João Pedro.
Yeah, Chelsea playing into Cole Palmer. The ball set back. As soon as it was set back, the thumbs up from Pedro was for the early delivery for his run in behind that Port Vale defence. Just took off a fraction too early.
Just to go back to Chelsea's defence, in his first 16 games, Liam Rosenior had named different back lines, different back fours or threes in every single game. Not easy for defensive continuity, and perhaps explains why they've managed just 3 clean sheets during his spell in charge. Concede an average of over 1.5 goals a game. Sheriff, a little touch on, let the touch through to Sanchez, who's assured of a run in the side. Philip Jurgensen still nursing an injury he picked up after conceding 5 in that first leg, the Champions League knockout at the Parc des Princes in Paris.
Obviously a difficult position for Liam Rosenior with so many players at his disposal as well, trying to find the combinations, the back 3 or back 4, whichever way he wanted to set up and have some consistency. I think he's got a case there, Sheriff. He's arguing that he was just really pushed off of the ball as that was played forward.
Behind after 64 seconds, I think it's fair to say they've found a way, Port Vale, to steady the ship.
Yeah, I think the game slowing down has actually helped them rather than hindered them in respect of just staying compact, not allowing Chelsea to really threaten since that opening goal.
Tosin. Fofana. Lavia started just his 3rd game of the season. So he comes back from his latest injury setback. He was in there mistiming the challenge on Reece Walters. It's a free kick to Port Vale.
Yeah, I think he's a little fortunate here. It's really clever from Walters, the way he just drags the ball away. The challenge is late from Lavia. Walters, for me, is breaking forward with the ball. That easily have been a yellow card for Lavia in his challenge.
So another set piece for Port Vale to get their teeth into. And once again, Cameron Humphreys to take it. Similar defensive setup for Chelsea. Again, Hall is the target. Offside flag.
Sure, Liam Rosenior will actually like this. He will be happy with the 1-0 lead, but I think he'll be a little bit disappointed that his team really haven't taken this game by the scruff of the neck after that opening goal. The tempo's dropped, the atmosphere's dropped within the stadium as well.
A good quick feed to take him away from Wayne. Malagusto. Belabia. Esteban, they double up on him. So back he goes to Hato. Here's Cole Palmer now for Chelsea. Just overtouch that, it will come to Esteban. Esteban ends up on the deck, tussling with Jordan Gabriel. And much to the delight of the Port Vale fans.
Yeah, they just loved it, didn't they? Gabriel's defensive strength was shown there against Esteban.
Bit of discussion between captain and head coach, maybe a tactical tweak.
Yeah, captain has seen something on the field of play that he wants his boss to address. He certainly seems to have done that. John Brady getting the information on very quickly.
Last touch came off Ben Wayne. She scored away with New Zealand last week in one of their World Cup warm-up matches against Chile. Being well, he'll be up at the top of the New Zealand attack with Chris Wood of Nottingham Forest. Neto. And decisively there, Gordon. Hato. Esteban. The ball from Esteban. Walter's doing good work. He got beyond two before he ends up on the deck. And Esteban ends up with the ball.
Just for a split second, great work from Walters. Could have fed the ball wide to Gabriel, who was in acres of space on the right. Just couldn't make that all-important pass.
Well, three of them ganging up on Cole Palmer. They were on him like a flash there.
Yeah, Chelsea have tried a few times just to punch that ball into Cole Palmer in the pocket.
Santos. Neto on the turn. Finding Gusto.
You can just sense a little bit of frustration from the Chelsea crowd in respect to positions where they should cross the ball.
Neto slip free. It's João Pedro. And that is a clinical and brilliant finish from João Pedro. He made it look simple. It was far from that. And Chelsea have their second.
Well, we see Neto get free. That was the most important thing in terms of the build-up. Then with the cross that he finds Pedro, and it is a really quality finish from João Pedro. The build-up down the right-hand side. Neto just gets in behind as the ball's chipped into the corner of the 18-yard box. Cross comes in, the touch and the composure was quite brilliant from João Pedro. Neto wrestling for the ball, finds his centre forward. The composure and just the balance as Neto wins out to cross it from the right-hand side with his back to goal. Brilliant first touch, and then just look at the way he waits. Defenders trying to close, just finds the angle to fire it into the far corner. Beautiful goal.
Kyle John, the defender, tied in knots. João Pedro firing in his 22nd goal of a very productive season for Chelsea, include his time at the Club World Cup. Slightly ahead in the past, Liam Rosenior's side.
Just a little bit.
You quite rightly said there were just murmurs of discontent around the Chelsea parts of Stamford Bridge at the way that the game was starting to be a little bit of a stubborn challenge for Chelsea, but that goal came at a good time for them.
It did, and it was a ball that was in behind that Port Vale defence.
Like this one here, which has found Malo Gusto. João Pedro was in, but so too was Humphreys to slide and put it behind.
Yeah, they're appealing for offside, but Gusto came from a slightly deeper position. He's looking to try to just wind that in front of João Pedro. 3 Port Vale defenders there to close him out.
Chelsea's opening goal on 64 seconds came from a corner, albeit from the other side. From this one. Port Vale head on that one, but at a cost.
Yeah, there's a clash of heads there.
Sheriff, I think, got the worst of it, didn't he? Andres Santos getting treatment from the Chelsea medical staff. Bit of concern on the faces of the Port Vale medical team. The state in which Martin Sheriff finds himself. Let's have another look at it, Clive.
Yeah, it just comes from behind. This is the goal. Goalkeeper does have 2 attempts to punch it clear. The second was back into the danger area, and Hato completely unmarked. It's a good strength from Neto on Gordon, but brilliant touch. The first touch kills it. Stone dead. That was the beauty of it for me. And then he had the composure just to wait, defenders all around him, and fires it into the open side. A superbly taken goal.
So time for some refreshments and some tactical tinkerings from Liam Rosenior as well. And John Brady, who ahead of kick-off joked that he had asked the FA if they could play with 20 players on the pitch. Tries to set up the 11 to plot a path back into this one.
That wouldn't have been fair though, would it?
No. I'm not sure he's got 20 players.
Exactly. Well, good to see Sheriff up. He will have to obviously come to the side now after the head injury.
Looks a little groggy, so they'll undertake the concussion protocols to check he's okay before reintroduction. They're already without the services of the striker who started the last round against Sunderland, Dejon Brown. Santos is ready to come back on.
Ball coming forward again. John will be attempting a long throw. Both the injured players trying to get back on as soon as possible.
John hurls it in. Fofana made sure he got there. Port Vale have their first corner of the afternoon in West London.
Garrity attacking that Long John throw, and in came Fofana to concede the first corner of the game.
Liam Gordon, the recruit from Walsall last summer, will be the one charged with taking it.
John Brady knows this is an opportunity.
Yeah, he senses opportunity, doesn't he? On his haunches. Disappointing delivery, but there's life in it perhaps. Wayne didn't get the touch he was hoping for now. Here come Chelsea with Pedro Neto. Showed too much of that to Walters.
Well, initially it was a poor corner delivered, but then it was a really poor Cole Palmer clearance. But then Chelsea looked just for a second to have the chance to counter quickly. Waters stopped it on the halfway line.
Different competition, of course, but Port Vale will be well aware of the problems that Chelsea have had holding on to leads here throughout the season. It's something in the region of 17 Premier League points they've thrown away from winning positions. Sheriff, little mistime there.
Yeah, and receiving a yellow card, though, just the nature in which he jumped into the challenge. Sliding through, nowhere near playing the ball.
First caution of the afternoon. Farai Hallam. Touched already on Chelsea's poor form they had ahead of the international break. Really bad couple of weeks for Liam Rosenior. It's been an awful lot better for John Brady and Port Vale. They come into this on the back of a 4-0 defeat against Wycombe Wanderers. A wretched afternoon they had. Santos went in, collided with Jordan Gabriel. He was in some discomfort.
Well, he heads the ball, but I think he catches him with his knee as he heads the ball here. You can see Gabriel's coming in. Both players committed to challenge him for the ball, but Gabriel is clearly caught on that right side. Santos asking if it was a foul. I didn't think it was. I think, yes, there's a coming together. It's one of those accidental challenges where two players are committed to attacking the ball.
Knee to the ribs, a painful one either way. Another long one from John.
Yeah, rightly no foul given by the referee.
Not far off a free kick though, is it? The Carl John long throw. Gordon. Humphreys. And this is Kyle John. Jordan Gabriel. Showing no ill effects of that coming together with Andre Santos. We have 10 to play in the first half as the Port Vale fans greet every successful pass with an ole. Garrity's in there. Got the ball, but seems to have been plenty of contact with the opposition man as well, who's still down on the deck.
Lavia is the man that's down. He felt the full force of the Garrity challenge.
There's Ben Waine, Liam Gordon. Palmer wants Port Vale to roll it out.
He's asking them to kick it out, but they're a man down. It's for the referee to stop the game.
Well, it's not a head injury, so he's under no obligation to stop the game. It's not to say it's not a painful one for Romeo Lavia, and a player with such a history of injuries, there's always concern.
Well, he's holding the right ankle. You can see the challenge from Garrity. It looks like he actually kicks the ball against Garrity's shin, and then his follow-through catches the bottom of Garrity's boot. He looks to have quite a heavily strapped right ankle there anyway, Lavia.
Come off for the every 30 seconds.
Yeah, he asked the referee, do you want me to go off? Unfortunately, yes. Well, Chelsea a man light. Port Vale free kick, where they any slight opportunities is from situations like this.
Well, there's a free header from Garrity back across the box. Good leap from Fofana. Humphreys in again. And here now is Esteban. Couldn't pick the pass to Palmer. João Pedro reckons there might be something in that. And by Sheriff to Waine. Waine goes down. The referee not interested in that.
Yeah, he was caught by Fofana.
And here is Fofana on the ball for Chelsea. Well, John dispossessed. Palmer has it back. Jorel Hato. Neto. Lavia. Sting taken out of the shot. And then Joe Gauci able to prevent the corner as well.
Yeah, had time and space to weigh that shot up, did Lavia, but the deflection was well claimed by Gauci on that goal line.
It's only his 35th game for Chelsea since his £58 million move from Southampton 3 years ago now.
Yes, and Port Vale possession, which I think just shows that they're trying to stay in this cup tie as best they can.
João Pedro. Nearly threaded it through a congested Port Vale defence to Esteval. This is Reece Walters, the homegrown midfielder.
It was a massive price tag when he arrived, as it was for so many young talents that have arrived at Chelsea. Difficult really to establish himself in the way that he probably would have wanted.
Closing stages of the first half, if Port Vale are going to add to their comparatively short list of top-flight scalps in the FA Cup that they've managed down the years, they're going to have to do it the even harder way. After the early goal from Hato, and then they won on 25 minutes from João Pedro.
Yeah, for Liam Rosenior, I think he'll be happy with, obviously, the state of the game at this point. I think emphasising at half-time that they need to drive forward and try to create more. For John Brady, he'd be disappointed with the way the game started. I think he'd be quite happy with the way that his team have settled and have stayed in this cup tie. Yes, a massive, massive task from this position, but Chelsea have not won it yet.
Lovely flick there. João Pedro, back to Gusto, and followed in. Cole Palmer, wearing the armband, scoring a third for Chelsea on the stroke of half-time. It wasn't Malo Gusto's contribution in there excellent?
It wasn't the captain's contribution, it was massive, Bill. The first touch to flick the ball through for João Pedro from Cole Palmer was brilliant, but then where does he end up? In the 6-yard box to wrap this cup tie up. Captain today, and a captain's performance in his first half with just some wonderful subtle touches. Gusto round the corner, Pedro feeding it back to him, and as he drives it, the keeper gets fingers, but Cole Palmer makes sure that he's in the right place at the right time to wrap this FA Cup tie up. Brilliant from Gusto. Into the run of Pedro, carried on, got the return pass, cross shot. Oh, it's actually an own goal. Cole Palmer gets the toe. I think he comes off for Gabriel.
Yeah, we're getting word it has been credited as a Gabriel own goal, so taken off Cole Palmer.
Well, it certainly was a move of quality. Some really slick interpassing between Gusto, João Pedro. Gabriel could do nothing about it. The final touch from the Chelsea player was from Cole Palmer. The final touch off of Gabriel for Chelsea's third.
When you're a side in Port Vale's position, you need everything to go your way if you're going to come away from Stamford Bridge with anything, or even to stay in the game. Poor defending for the set piece for the opening goal. That will frustrate. Moments of quality and excellence in the build-up to the second through Pedro Neto, and then the finish was sublime by João Pedro, and then touches of class for the third. On show as well, even though the final touch did come off a Port Vale player.
Yeah, Liam Rosenior, the happier of the two coaches. It's a big job for John Brady now at half-time, just to regroup his players, calm them down. The one thing now, they wouldn't want to be on a really heavy, the end of a very heavy defeat before they restart their league campaign and the fight to try to stay in Division 1.
In we go to the 2 minutes of added time. Esteval popping up on the right-hand side to give Gordon even more to think about. Neto. This is Lavia. Chelsea seeking a fourth before the break. Palmer. And by Pedro Neto. And by Kyle John. There's Garrity.
I do think Neto's had far too much space out on that right-hand side for Chelsea. Gordon has been reluctant to go out there and mark him man for man, and Neto has really exploited that. It's just an example again. Gordon's just leaving the line of the five to go out to Neto, but slightly too late.
Gusto has got beyond Wang. Little touch from Humphreys. Palmer trying to get that. Neto, they're going to get beyond Wayne. He felt he was pulled back, so do many inside Stamford Bridge, but one of them who doesn't see it that way is Farai Hallam.
Yeah, and he shakes his head, and rightly so. I thought that Wayne just completely blocked him off.
Well, Chelsea in control at the break. Chelsea on their way to yet another FA Cup semi-final. Didn't take them long, 64 seconds on the clock when Jorrol had. No half-time changes in terms of personnel. What's the Port Vale mindset here, Clive?
Well, it certainly will be a damage limitation. They wouldn't want to be on the end of a really heavy defeat with the predicament they find themselves in at the bottom of the league. It could be quite damaging for their confidence. So, no changes from John Brady. I think we're seeing him talking to his staff on the touchline there. Might well be thinking of making some changes, fresh legs, just trying to keep some sort of belief in terms of the way they go about this second half. For Chelsea, much of the same. Liam Rosenior, I'm sure, will be looking and hoping and wanting them to go on and extend their lead even further.
As far as Chelsea are concerned, it hasn't been a completely dominant performance. It's been a first half of moments.
Esteval coming out and starting on the right-hand side. It was on the left in the first half, Neto being switched. Gordon doing well in terms of dispossessing him, running away. Esteval coming back to make the challenge.
Funso Ojo, the experienced Belgian, will take this one for Port Vale. Garrity round the back, Humphreys was there. Couldn't get the contact he needed.
No, it's a chance. Good, well-worked free kick.
Ojo pressurised. And fouled.
And you see the deep cross, no one marking at the back post, hooked back in. Humphreys just trying to make the contact. It's the captain, Garrity, who feeds it back in. Just doesn't get that right boot on the ball, does Humphreys.
The free kick for a push on Andre Santos.
Yeah, almost a carbon copy. Once again, Garrity finding himself unmarked. Hall, the one I think is penalised for holding Pedro.
The 3 that Chelsea have scored so far continues what has been a very productive goal-scoring FA Cup run so far. 16 goals they've scored in their 3.5 ties so far, all against lower league opposition. Palmer moving the challenger Garrity. Lavia angled into Estevao, no offside flag. It's Estevao. He couldn't pick out João Pedro.
I think he's been given offside now, but certainly was a good diagonal ball. Gordon again just tucked in a little too far. He takes off. Yeah, it's a close one with that 5 defenders across that rear line for Port Vale, trying to just feed it into the run of João Pedro.
João Pedro's goal, that made it 2-0, now means he has scored 8 goals in his last 8 FA Cup games. The most productive FA Cup goal scorer during that period. His touch, put it on by Walters. This is John. Gabriel. And Humphreys. Ojo. Garrity. João Pedro, cheeky little back heel into Andre Santos. Here's Estevao, and he shaves the outside of the post.
Well, a really slick move from Chelsea. Brilliant back heel in the build-up from João Pedro. And when it was fed across to him, you could see Estevao opening up to try to side foot the fast pass into the corner. Great touch here, brilliant back heel. Fed across the 18-yard box, opens up, tries to wind it in the corner, just kisses the outside of the post.
It's been a good few weeks on the sidelines as he recovers from injury, so I can excuse him perhaps being a little rusty. Walters losing out the play by Andre Santos. This is Palmer now. Estevao might just get another chance here. Pops it to Palmer. Palmer tried to slide it through.
Really clever. Trying to pass that ball into the far corner is Cole Palmer. Again, it's another good, slick Chelsea move. Estevao, you see, he plays it through Walters' legs, trying to just slide it into that open corner. Great start to the second half from this Chelsea side, certainly looking to be intent on increasing their lead.
Palmer. Liam Rosenior, who's been in charge here at Chelsea for just under 3 months, has seen a lot, the highs, the lows, the wins, and then the run of defeats, 4 in a row. They look like they're going to put that right here. It's a question of how many. That's how it feels at the moment anyway, as Hall clears.
Well, it's definitely down this right-hand side that Chelsea have had the most productive area. Neto in the first half has now switched with Estevao's come out onto this right-hand side. Neto involved on the left.
Joao Pedro breezes beyond John. Santos. Lavia. Estevao. Lovely quick feet. A favourable break on the corner off the shins of Liam Gordon.
Well, it's much better from Chelsea at the start of the second half. It's quick and it's slick. They're moving the ball very, very one- and two-touch football that Port Vale are finding very difficult to contain. And Estevao looks so much happier on this right-hand side.
Hato. Lavia.
Gusto tumbled. He felt he was pulled down as he was running into the 18-yard box.
It's a legendary figure in the history of Port Vale, John Rudge. Looking on from the expensive seats at Stamford Bridge. He's seen most things during his time with the club, but he's never seen a Port Vale side play at Chelsea in any competition.
I was just going to say, he's seen everything that Port Vale have done for so many years. Legendary character.
Hato on hand to tidy up, and a little bit of pressure from Jordan Gabriel.
Yeah, defending the situation well with Hato.
Estevao. That's a lovely ball for Joao Pedro. Hall with the block.
The brilliant ball. I just felt at one point Joao Pedro might just lifted it over the advancing keeper. Gets the shot in, wins another corner, but it was a sensational Estevao pass that Pedro just acknowledges.
Chelsea corner. Pedro Neto. Palmer. And Pedro Neto. Neto takes it on, stings the palms of the keeper. Oh, it's put behind for a corner. They're getting closer to this fourth, Chelsea, it feels.
Yeah, he's saying it's moving in the air, the goalkeeper. It's a really good run from Gusto to allow him to come inside on that favoured foot. Fiercely hit, parried away.
Palmer. Hato. Neto. Gusto. And it's 4. Tosin rises. And Chelsea heading up in the hills and far away from Port Vale and to Wembley for the semi-final. If there was doubt before, there certainly is not now. Chelsea 4, Port Vale 0.
Yeah, emphatic from Chelsea. And this is a really well-crafted move down the right-hand side. A lovely cross that gives Tosin the opportunity to power the header home. 4-0 Chelsea. Super play. Neto just makes out to deliver it, slides it for Gusto to stand the ball up, for Tosin to power that header in. Lovely delivery for the centre-half. Look how high he rises to power that back where it's come from. Textbook header, great cross. Fabulous header from Tosin.
Towering from Tosin. And smiles back on Chelsea faces after a very difficult last few weeks. Garrity dispossessed by Andre Santos. Joao Pedro still down. Plenty of movement down on that Port Vale bench. You might be able to see at the bottom of your picture, but it looks like there's going to be a triple substitution, including the only Port Vale player who has played a Premier League match on this ground, Andre Gray. 3 times he played it during his time with Burnley and Watford. Esteban. Renato. And Fofana. Gusto.
Well, Bill, it's probably game over from both managers' points of view. Their attentions will move on. We were a senior for Premier League points. John Brady for points to try to keep his team in Division 1. Changes of foot.
Palmer. Esteban. Palmer. And recovered by Joe Gauci.
Gauci does well. Great block from Esteban. The initial stop, Neto, Palmer, Esteban keeping himself on side, spreads himself, stays really big as the goalkeeper, and then manages to smother it at the feet of Palmer.
Liam Delap, Alejandro Garnacho and Dario Asugo, the 3 who will come on for Chelsea. Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer and Joao Pedro. 3 who have been away on international duty withdrawn. Cole Palmer hands over the armband to Tosin. Chance for Liam Delap to kick-start his season here. Half an hour or so against League One opposition. Dario Asugo. Chelsea fans have hardly seen anything of this midfield player, due to the fact that he has spent most of the season with injuries, but he's another talented team brought in for a pretty hefty price tag, one for the future. Esteban upended. Advantage play, but not forthcoming, so the free kick will be awarded.
Yeah, referee trying to give Chelsea the advantage as Esteban was fouled. Quick feet, not allowing anybody really to make a challenge. If they do, they make contact with a nimble-footed Esteban. Understandable substitutions from the Chelsea manager, Rosenior. Cole Palmer coming back and I think getting better by each game. Good minutes for him. Neto has been excellent. Right-sided first half, left-sided in the second. And Pedro, the man in form, up front, giving Delap an opportunity now, maybe just to try to find some goal-scoring form.
3 weeks now for the most part for Chelsea between now and the end of the season, given their Champions League exit. Two huge home games up and coming against both Manchester clubs, City and United.
Yeah, I think
potentially be an FA Cup semi-final as well.
Quite possibly, yes. Well, we know City and Chelsea are in the semi-finals. Yeah. There's still two big semi-finals to come.
There are a few either-ors there, aren't there?
Absolutely. Yeah. Could be, Bill, four of my old teams in the semi-final. That would be a difficult one to...
Full house, Clive.
Yeah, possibly.
Santos. Sugo, you see there wearing number 14. He's the one who has taken on the Palmer role, if you like.
It is getting to a stage of the game as well, Bill, where a team like Port Vale, the nature of the football they play in Division 1, they've been chasing the ball for so long.
This is so well worked. Esteban at the heart of it. Garnacho putting over.
Yeah, that's a chance for Garnacho, an early chance since being introduced as a substitute. Esteban clever. Lovely 1-2 with Gusto, and it's a good cross. Just on the half volley for Garnacho.
Here come the Port Vale changes. Andre Gray, you see there wearing number 45. George Hall alongside him, and Eli Campbell as well. Another player on loan from Everton at Vale Park. And the Wayne run is over, just as Port Vale's is as well. There'll be no fourth winner from the New Zealand international. He's saved for important tasks ahead. They've got a fiendishly busy and difficult schedule between now and the end of the season, Port Vale, as they make up the games they have in hand to try and pull off what's looking already improbable but increasingly impossible. Bridge that 15-point gap they have between themselves and safety, with just 8 League One games to play. Esteban. Oh, nearly went in off the keeper.
Well, what an introduction for Campbell. The ball fed out to Esteban. Immediately he's one-on-one with Campbell. Tries to just pull that shot back in at the near post.
Campbell, on loan from Everton, spent last season playing at Ross County, is up against one of the most exciting Brazilian internationals there is. At Stamford Bridge, with Chelsea tails up and the tie as good as one. Didn't do his keepers any favour there, that's for sure.
Yeah, just sloppy, really was. The back pass from Hall, difficult for the goalkeeper to clear at the best of times. Slices it away for a Chelsea corner.
Gusto leaves it for Esteban. Pato. Gusto. Busiest afternoon, has it, for Robert Sanchez in the Chelsea goal?
No, it's been a quiet one. It's been uneventful, which I think he would have enjoyed.
He'd take that all day long after what's been going on with him recently.
Yeah, I don't think there's actually been one attempt on his goal from Port Vale.
conceding 6 goals in his last 2 games. A clean sheet will be welcome. More welcome, I'm sure, is not really having to work for it. We've got a quarter of this contest left, and we've got Gusto. Now for Fana. Santos. Garnacho. Andre Santos took a deflection. He's carried it wide.
I think the deflection came off of Humphries. Garnacho feeding it back. Humphries just staying still. Just comes off the top of his head. Yeah.
Esteval with the corner. Not a bad one either. And it's a 5th for Chelsea. Andre Santos powering in from close range. And this is starting to get a little messy for the League One strugglers. Another goal conceded from a corner. Another scratching of head moments, a shrug-inducing goal.
I think the keeper felt that he was impeded as he comes for the in-swinging corner kick. We'll see it from this angle. I'm not so sure he's strong enough, really. Tosin is there on his shoulder, but far from enough aggression from the goalkeeper. Ball sails over his head, and Santos is there to head home the 5th. I don't think you're going to get a free kick for that.
Well, Neil Davis is the VAR who will have a look at that to see whether he feels that there's a need to get involved. I suspect probably not. The check is complete and we're underway again.
Yeah, we're now going into that stage of the game where Port Vale really are under severe pressure of a demoralisingly heavy defeat. That's the last thing that John Brady would want.
Well, it was Liam Rosenior's first game in charge when Chelsea last hit 5 in a match. That was away at Charlton.
Well, 5 goals built, 9 on target from Chelsea for those 5 goals. No attempt on target from the visitors.
The gap between the sides, 62 places, is looking at the moment like a chasm. Last time that before this season that Port Vale had claimed a Premier League scalp, it was when the FA Cup holders Everton in 1996 were beaten in the FA Cup. Go back a little further than that, Clive. You have experience of what it's like to be on the wrong end.
I knew you was going to do that, Mr. Leslie. I really did. But it was at Port Vale. That's the only excuse that I can make. No other excuses, though.
Tottenham Hotspur, a year after reaching the FA Cup final, beaten by Coventry, went to Vale Park. Clive in the Spurs side. Terry Venables, the manager there?
Yes, that's right. On a sandpit of a pitch, that's another excuse I'm going to make.
Get them all in now, Clive.
I'll try. Got another one, a Port Vale team that wasn't struggling like this one is.
Well, a few little isms about Port Vale's history, one of which is that they have never played in the top flight of English football, but yet they have played against every single one of the 92. Or the other 91, rather.
Strong Gabriel challenge on that left touchline, and a chance now. Port Vale, long throw again coming from John.
And they give their travelling 6,000 something to cheer. Tosin there to meet it first. Esteval. Gusto. They want to make another change here to Port Vale.
Archer being introduced.
Ethan Archer, the midfielder on loan from Luton Town, will come on and replace Ben Garrity, the captain. Well, the defeat against Wycombe last time out in League One was the first time he played 90 minutes since the end of January. Going to be asked to do the same here. He passes the armband on to Ojo.
Well, he's going to be vitally important in the games remaining for Port Vale. Is Garrity the captain?
And Ethan Archer, who's on, has actually played in the first two rounds of the FA Cup for a different club, for Cheltenham. He scored back in the second round against Buxton. Experience of football in the lower leagues. Ethan Archer, born in Croydon, played Sutton Common Rovers, Rains Park Vale, before making his way in the professional ranks.
So many different ways to be a professional footballer, and different.
That's a poor pass. And there's an opportunity here potentially. Fofana was across on the cover.
George Hall, brilliant. Just been introduced, picks the ball up, drives with determination. Fierce shot spins away for a Port Vale corner.
George Hall, who scored in round one against Malden and Tiptree. Side that Port Vale put 5 past. Into the last quarter of an hour here at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 5, Port Vale 0. Vale on the hunt for a consolation. John. Now by Tosin. Brazilian and Argentinian got in each other's way there. Garnacho and Esteval.
Yeah, John came out with the ball. He did brilliantly, turning away from both of those Chelsea players.
Andre Gray, an FA Cup finalist with Watford back in 2019. They're on the wrong end of shellacking themselves against Manchester City. Chelsea filling their boots in terms of goal scoring in this season's cup run. 5 away at Charlton, 4 away at Hull, 4 away at Wrexham, although they needed extra time to make sure they got beyond Phil Parkinson's side, and now 5 here against Port Vale.
Yeah, that Wrexham tie has probably been their biggest test in this FA Cup campaign so far. First game at home here today in their FA Cup run. Liam Rosenior will be happy. It's almost a no-win situation for him coming into it, but will be delighted with this scoreline and would hope that they will go on and score more.
Garnacho fires it in. Indeed, fires it out. Well, this is an exciting moment. This young man, Ryan Kavuma McQueen, wearing number 76. He's 17 years old. He's a winger who can play on the right or the left. We'll see where he's asked to do now. An England under-17 international who hit the headlines when he scored 4 goals against Germany in a 7-5 win last September. Academy staff at Chelsea very excited over his potential. We're going to get 12 minutes plus added time to have a look to see what he can do here.
Yeah, fantastic moment for him in his early career.
There's Tosin.
He's come onto this right-hand side, Bill. Esteval's gone infield.
And here comes Esteval, looking for Delap. John held himself at that to make the block. This is Garnacho now for Chelsea. Asugo, Gusto, Esteval. Andre Santos. And here he is, Kavuma McQueen.
The crowd like that. Positive right from the start, receiving the ball, taking the fullback on. Campbell blocks the cross. Kavuma McQueen wins the corner for his side.
Esteval takes the corner. Here's Garnacho. Malo Gusto. Hato. Josh Achimpong looks like he's going to come on for the last 10 for Chelsea. Should suggest there'll be a change at the back. Looks like it's going to be Malo Gusto who comes off. That's no surprise given that Reece James is still recovering from his latest hamstring issue. And Malo Gusto's been away on international duty with France.
Yeah, protecting his players. Liam Rosenior with his cup tie won.
That's really well fed through for Alejandro Garnacho, who hits the post. Esteval. Flag is up. Will be checked, like all goals, of course, by VAR.
Yeah, Bill, I think this needs to be checked because Garnacho, when he actually fires it in, I'm not sure Esteval is offside. Comes back off the post. This is a wonderful ball. There's no offside there. I don't think he's offside there either. When the Garnacho shot goes in, back off the post. Could he be offside on the last one? If it hits Garnacho, it might well be.
Yeah, it's whether it comes off the defender there, isn't it?
Before he makes the final touch to knock it into the open net. I don't think he's offside there.
That's clearly the first point of focus. They'll check that. The VAR, Neil Davis and his assistant, Peter Banks.
There's no offside here on the initial pass. It's a great pass. into the run of Garnacho. Shot goes in. Does it touch Garnacho before Esteval taps it in? If it does, then he might well be offside.
But by way of the process, they of course have to check every phase. It's frustrating for the supporters inside the stadium because they're in the dark. All they know is that the goal is being checked.
And not 3 possible offside decisions.
And again, we see that image which would suggest
Goal.
the check is complete and the goal is given. And Esteval, who sparkled on his return from injury this afternoon, has a goal to show for it.
Yeah, he's a young talent. We talked about him before the game started. He's contributed. The crowd love him here at Chelsea. He scored the 6th. There's the decision that Garnacho wasn't offside before shooting against the upright.
Chelsea's latest substitution is to introduce Josh Achimpong. And that's Tyler Maguire, the defender who will come on and replace Kyle John for these remaining moments. The confirmation of the scoreline: Chelsea 6, Port Vale 0. Archer loses out. Here's Garnacho. Esteval again. Across the face of goal where no one is able to get any contact. Kavuma McQueen. This is Achimpong. And Andre Santos. First FA Cup goal of the season, Andre Santos. Scored against Wolves in an early round of the League Cup. Kavuma McQueen. Ojo. This is George Hall, the former Birmingham City midfield player. Ojo. Esteval, Delap.
Esteval's only been in that 10 role that Cole Palmer occupied in the early stages of this game, but he seems to be really enjoying himself in that role.
Under the former head coach at Chelsea, Enzo Maresca, he was used there fleetingly in some of the pre-season games they had. Not very many, of course, because of the Club World Cup, and Esteval was yet to join there, but they looked at playing him in there and Palmer out wide. They experimented a little bit. It's certainly an option, isn't it?
It is. I think there's no doubt Cole Palmer is the #1 in that position, but a really good option to have for Rosenior.
Kavuma McQueen looks to find Achimpong. This is Ojo. Six Chelsea goals, 6 different scorers. 5 of them in Chelsea blue, and 1 of them in the traditional anniversary strip of Port Vale. Gabriel, who put through his own net just before half-time. 3 in each half I think it's fair to say, Clive, job done.
Absolutely. For Liam Rosenior, obviously Fernandez left out after comments made while on international duty. Team picked to win this FA Cup tie, a strong team pick by Liam Rosenior, and that's exactly what has happened. Liam, sorry.
Kavuma McQueen. And most importantly for Liam Rosenior is the fact that it's stopped the rot. It's changed the narrative a little bit. It was all pretty gloomy in this part of the world before the international break. The manner of the capitulation in the end against Paris Saint-Germain after a promising showing in the first leg, the way it unravelled there, and then they were embarrassed really in the second leg here by the European champions. That came after Newcastle had come here and won for only the second time in the Premier League, and then a meek showing at Everton. The calibre of opposition here has been from a lower league than that which has preceded it. But it will set Chelsea in much better order for the challenges to come on two fronts. They're going to Wembley for a semi-final. They have, as the old phrase goes, several cup finals to play in the Premier League to try and turn sixth position into at least fifth, which would see them return to the Champions League next year.
Yeah, there's no doubt that will be the aim, but just this result and taking themselves into the semi-finals will be, I think, great joy for Liam Rosenior.
Garnacho lost his footing. He was upended. The penalty is given. Tyler Maguire has only just come on. His first significant contribution is to give Chelsea a penalty kick in the last minute of the 90.
Bill, I think it's his first challenge on Garnacho. And as he takes the ball into the 18-yard box, yeah, just catches that right boot, strikes for the ball, but kicks the back of Garnacho's right ankle, and he's going to step up to take the penalty kick.
With the usual takers off the pitch, Palmer or Joao Pedro would certainly be in contention if he was on that. Alejandro Garnacho from the penalty spot. It wasn't due to be any added time, but the award of the penalty has changed that.
Yeah, that might just be the last kick of the game, but an opportunity for Garnacho. Fouled for the penalty kick, steps up to try to convert.
Garnacho, who scored in the last round win against Wrexham, seeks a seventh for Chelsea here. Sends the keeper the wrong way. And puts a final stamp on a very impressive FA Cup quarter-final win for Chelsea. They've seen goals aplenty at Stamford Bridge. 7 times Joe Gauci has had to pick the ball out of the back of his net. The first time on 64 seconds, the last time a similar amount of time after the 90-minute mark. No mistake there, Clive.
Absolutely not. He was fouled, he picked himself up, he was determined and certainly grabbed the ball to take it, and Garnacho fires it home for an emphatic Chelsea victory.
Seven goals, 7 different scorers. John Brady, who knew he needed absolutely everything to go right here if his side were to stand any chance, has seen them ship 7. No disgrace on that. There were some lovely moments from Chelsea, but also some moments to forget.